What is going on, everyone? Thank you so much for coming back today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day just to click on today's video. Today, we'll be exploring another amazing movie that I found absolutely amazing as a kid. Now, you keep wondering, how do I keep finding these movies? Growing up, I did not have the big box, blockbuster, Hollywood video in my town. So it was these locally owned family mom and pop stores, video rental stores that would get these releases in. Now, they would not get a lot of new releases in, so I would usually resort to the B-rated section, kind of the lower-end quality film movies, you would say. And I used to love these movies growing up as a kid. Today, we're going to be exploring a movie called Munchie. Now, this is not the 1987 Gremlins knockoff called Munchies. This was its own standalone movie. Munchie came out in 1992. Now, fun facts about this movie, it had an 18-day shoot. So they filmed this whole entire movie in 18 days. They released it to just one theater nationwide, and that was in Belle Forge, Tennessee, which I live in Tennessee. So that's kind of cool to think about that. And then after it got out of the theater, it went straight to VHS. Now, this movie is pretty much star-packed for a B-rated movie. Munchie, the voice of Munchie, is played by Dom DeLuise. You have Loni Anderson, who was the famous wife of Burt Reynolds, and she was an actress as well. And then, none other than we have Jennifer Love Hewitt's very first acting role came in this movie. But enough talking about this movie, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, the movie starts off with a high-speed chase set in 1970. The guy's running from the cops, and he's driving to a secluded spot to dump Munchie. Basically, no context, just driving up there, driving through the night, just to dump Munchie off this ravine. Now, we fast forward to today, where we meet Gage. Gage is in class crushing on Andrea, who is played by Jennifer Love Hewitt. But what's funny is, in the credits, she's only called Love Hewitt. So I guess they added the Jennifer after the fact. Now, as Gage is sitting there, he makes it possibly the most awkward thing in the world, as he starts to daydream about Andrea. This gets him in a little bit of trouble with the teacher, so the teacher asks him to stay over after class. What I love about this part is the teacher calls him up and basically lets him know what kind of a loser he is. She basically lets him know that he has no friends and that he's going to fail math unless he gets his grades up. So, Gage is depressed, grabs his lunch and heads to the cool table. Ashton lets him know that he needs an invitation to sit at his table. After his goon throws Gage's tray and hits the principal, Gage takes the fall for it and is awarded 20 hours of study hall. Now, keep the depression train rolling. As Gage is walking home, he sees an explosion at his neighbor's house. Now, this happened at the Professor Crunchshake's house. Now, he's not really important throughout this whole entire movie until the end. So, we're kind of going to forget about him for a little bit. He gives him a little bit of life advice as Gage's stepdad and mom pull up. Now, I do have to say, Gage's stepdad, Elliot, is decked out in the 1991 JCPenney's fall exclusive windbreaker. Dude, the wind does not stand a chance against Elliot. And again, what I love about this is this whole movie, basically everyone is just telling Gage how much of a loser he is and no one wants him around. But Gage's stepdad is telling him how much he wishes he'd play football and that one day he's going to marry his mom and he's going to be his dad. Now, obviously being upset about this, Gage decides to take a stroll when he comes across this abandoned mine. Now, this is where he finds Munchie trapped in a box. Now, he decides to let Munchie out of the box. And what I love about this is Munchie exits the box like he's Bill Goldberg walking to the ring back in WCW at his hype, with fireworks on both sides, just breathing in all the smoke and stuff. I just find that part freaking hilarious. Now, Gage quickly runs home to tell his mom about his discovery. His mom? I'm not believing your lies this time, Gage. Get your ass up to your room. So he goes up to his room, and guess what he finds? There's Munchie, just sprawled out on his bed, clicking through the TV, messing up his recommendations on Netflix. You're messing up his queue, man! Now, Munchie says to Gage that since he's been so nice to him, he will grant him any wish he wants. He can ask for multiple wishes. And basically like any middle school kid would do. Of course, he asks to be popular. He asks to get the girl. He asks to get back at his bullies. And he asks to pass math. So, those four things, that's all he needs in his life. Gage is set after that. So, if we can just get those things taken care of for him, Munchie, you can go ahead and move along. But Gage is also like, you know what else would be good? A pepperoni pizza. And Munchie's like, say less. So you have this cheesy scene where Munchie somehow uses his magic to steal this pizza from this pizzeria. And you have this cheesy scene of the chef chasing the pizza, the floating pizza, down the street with a cleaver in his hand. After Gage and Munchie destroy this pizza, Gage decides to get rid of the evidence and throw away the pizza crust in this wastebasket. He throws it away in a see-through wastebasket. There's no way his mom will ever find out. Now, of course, Munchie gives him the sad story that he's been sleeping in this box for over 20 years. So Gage decides, you know what? Since you did get me the pizza, you can stay here. Now, next day at the school, Gage stands awkwardly at a sign telling him that the talent show and assembly will be held in the auditorium and all students must attend. Now, here we have that little asshole Ashton showing up, letting Gage know to back off Andrea. She's his, dude. Now, here we get the old creepy Munchie showing up, and he pops out of a locker and he asks Gage, where's the cheerleader practice at? Okay, just for back reference in this movie, Munchie is like thousands of years old. So, it's very creepy to me that he's searching for the cheerleader practice for middle school girls. It may very well come down to we see Munchie on another show.
I'm Chris Hansen.
Now, Munchie reveals to Gage that he's at the school today to start working on his wishes. After he somehow changes all the grades to an A, we find out that the principal, who might I add is like old, is hooking up with his assistant who's young, and you have this long drawn out scene of them just giving each other pet names and kissing each other in the most awkward way possible. But out of the scene comes my favorite line of the whole entire movie. Munchie decides to turn on the PA system so that way the whole school can hear his principal and his assistant just smooching it up. And everyone's like, oh my god, and everyone's laughing. And you have the scene of Gage where he's just like, that's gotta be Munchie.
Gotta be Munchie.
I don't know why, but that scene cracks me up so much because it's so 90s cliche. Basically, like I'm watching a Mentos commercial right in front of my eyes.
The Fresh Maker.
Now we catch up with Gage after the shower, where we see Munchie hanging out in the boys' locker room showers. Yes, he will definitely be on this show. Now, after he takes care of one of his bullies in the shower, we move over to the talent show, where Munchie decides to ruin the performance of Ashton in Romeo and Juliet in front of the whole entire school by pulling down his pants. Now here's where we get the principal walking up to Gage and letting him know that he's on to him and that he knows that he's responsible for all the mischief around here. Now here we cut to Gage dragging Munchie's box to the professor's house, where the professor reveals that Munchie has been around for several centuries. But as he leaves the house, Munchie is doing his best Oscar the Grouch, kind of listening in and being creepy as Munchies do. But as Gage gets home, we find out that Gage's mom is cooking dinner for Elliot to come over. And at this dinner party, Elliot is going to ask her to marry him. Once Munchie gets hold of this information, he goes like full recon. And what's funny is he puts a match in Elliot's shoe and lights it on fire. And man, gotta be Munchie.
Gotta be Munchie.
But after Elliot's foot is burning, he blames Gage and his mom sees the real Elliot. Agreeing that Elliot's acting a little bit strange, they decide to still go out for dinner. Now here's where Munchie comes along. He's like, you know what would help out Gage so very much? Let's throw a party. Of course, he's got to invite Andrea. Now, he did steal Elliot's wallet, so he decides to order food. And he finds a little bit of a business card in there for Hugh and Heffy, which I guess is supposed to be a play on Hugh Hefner, which is kind of funny to me. And that he calls him up, and he uses his best Jack Nicholson voice to basically order girls. Order girls for a party for a middle school kid. And also, too, this party is so unrealistic because there's so many people that show up at this party. I mean, there's booze for kids. The principal shows up with his assistant. I don't know what party I'd want to be at where my principal shows up. But after Gage gets some alone time with Andrea out on the swings, they decide to go back inside, where Andrea catches a glimpse of Gage's sweet, sweet dance moves. Now, here's where Elliot discovers Munchie passed out behind the couch. He decides to kidnap Munchie and take him in to do some research on him. Andrea quickly stops Elliot by spraying him with the keg of beer, and you would think this was like acid that she's pouring on his body, the reaction he has. Here's where the professor comes back into play. Gage and the professor take Munchie, throw him in the back of the professor's Jeep, and they take off. Of course, Elliot takes off after them, and the high-speed chase is on. One thing I do love about this scene is you can tell it's kind of a mess up, but as you see shots of the Jeep driving, there's a cover over the back window. As you see shots from inside the Jeep, you can clearly see out the back window. So I think it's kind of funny that they just kind of messed that up. Now, this whole time, Munchie has been begging him to let him take the wheel. And saying it without saying it, basically Munchie says, once this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious shit. And that's exactly what happens. Munchie uses this little magic, they fly away, and Elliot crashes his car into a donut shop, which is very cliche to have a cop sitting in the donut shop, but of course Elliot gets arrested. Now, after everything is settled down, we cut to this final scene, where the professor is taking Munchie to go explore ancient civilizations. And as they're leaving, somehow they hijack the plane, and Munchie and the professor are sitting up front flying this plane. Gotta be Munchie.
Gotta be Munchie.
And of course, everyone is laughing at the end of the movie, being like, that's so Munchie. But that's it, man. That's 1992 Munchie. Now, they did make a sequel to this, Munchie Strikes Back, which I was going to do on the channel, but I watched it, and this movie is not great, but it has talking points, right? I can make a video out of this. Munchie Strikes Back is terrible. Dom DeLuise did not return to do the voice of Munchie, so you're lacking that. You have Gage, who returns for maybe 2 minutes in the very beginning, but he's all grown up and in this awkward puberty phase. And also, might I add, he looks like he's playing Steve Guttenberg in a movie about a remake of Police Academy, if that makes any sense. And also, too, it's one of those things where they recycled a lot of the actors, but changed their names. So Elliot in this movie, he's not Elliot, he's Shelby. You have the principal, who's not the principal. He's just the neighbor with the crazy dog. So the movie was so bad, I decided not to do it. And it wasn't even one of those movies where it's so bad we can make fun of it. It was just bad. So, but that's all I have for you guys today. If you wouldn't mind doing me a huge, huge, huge favor. On your way out, if you wouldn't mind hitting the thumbs up button down below. If you're not a subscriber, you can quickly become one. It's easy. It's free. Nothing in this world is free anymore, but a subscription to B for Brandon is going to be free. So, that's all I have for you guys today. Mom, I love you. Guys, I love you. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks, guys.
Gotta be Munchie.
Hey, if you want to watch another video, click here. If you want to subscribe, click over here. As always, thanks for watching, guys.